"Mom, my father-in-law hit me." Those words my daughter Claire told me over the phone opened my chest like a knife. I was at work reviewing some company documents when I saw her name on the screen. It was noon. Claire never called me at that time. My daughter? What happened? Silence. Then her broken voice. "Mom, my father-in-law hit me because the food was salty. My husband saw everything and said nothing. My blood froze. Where are you?" "At his house, Mom. I am locked in the bathroom. I am scared." I hung up. My hands were trembling. "My name is Amanda. I am 55 years old. I have worked all my life as an accountant in a textile company here in Chicago. I raised Claire alone after separating from her father when she was 12 years old. He was a police officer, a good man, but life took us down different paths. Claire was always quiet, obedient, and affectionate. When she met Ethan 3 years ago, I wanted to believe she had found a good man. He came from a traditional family from the South. His father was tough, dry, one of those men who never smile. But Ethan seemed different. I was wrong. 20 minutes after that call, I was in my car driving like crazy towards their house. But I was not going alone. I called Robert, Claire's dad. I told him everything in 30 seconds. "Say no more, Amanda. I am on my way." We met 2 blocks from the house. Robert was wearing his uniform. I was carrying something else. When we arrived in front of the door, my heart was beating so fast I thought it would jump out of my chest. I rang the bell. Heavy footsteps. The door opened. It was him, Claire's father-in-law, Ethan's father, a big man with thick arms and a cold gaze that went right through me. "What do you want?" he said with contempt. I said nothing. I just raised what I was holding in my hand, and when he saw what it was, his face changed. Everything changed. Before I tell you what happened that day in front of that door, I need you to understand how we got there. Because Claire was not always that scared woman locked in a bathroom afraid of her own father-in-law. There was a time when my daughter was free. I remember when Claire was 23 years old. She had just finished her degree as a preschool teacher. Every Sunday she came to my house to eat. I prepared roast beef, mashed potatoes, and green beans. She would arrive with her hands full of drawings her students had made for her. "Look, Mom, this boy drew me with wings. He says I am an angel." She laughed. She had a clean, sincere laugh. She sat at the kitchen table, drank coffee with cinnamon, and told me her plans. She wanted to open her own little school someday. She wanted to travel. She wanted to be happy. I saw her there with the afternoon sun coming through the window, illuminating her face, and I thought I did it. I raised her alone, but I did it. Claire never gave me problems. She never stayed out late partying. She never lied to me. She never disrespected me. She was a noble daughter. Too noble, perhaps. When her dad and I separated, she was 12. It was hard. Robert worked a lot. He was almost never home. I felt lonely. He felt misunderstood. There were no screams, there were no blows, there was no other woman or other man. There was only silence. One day he left. I stayed with Claire. But Robert never stopped being her father. He picked her up on Saturdays, took her to the park, to the movies, to eat burgers at a diner they loved. Claire adored him, and he adored her. Over the years, Robert and I learned to be friends. We were no longer a couple, but we were parents, and that never breaks. Claire grew up seeing that, a separation with dignity, without hate, without revenge. Maybe that is why, when she met Ethan, she believed all men were like her dad, good at heart, capable of changing. She was wrong. Ethan appeared in her life 3 years ago. Claire was working at a kindergarten in the suburbs. He was an accountant at a construction company. They met at a mutual friend's birthday party. The first time Claire told me about him, I noticed something in her voice, something different. "Mom, I met someone." "Oh, really? What is he like?" "He is serious, hardworking. He says he wants to start a family. I like that." In these times, finding a man who talks about family is rare. When I met him, Ethan seemed polite. He arrived at my house with flowers, shook my hand, called me Mrs. Amanda with respect. He was tall, thin, with light brown skin, brown eyes, and a shy smile. We talked for hours. He told me he came from Texas, that his family was traditional, that his dad had been in the military and now had an auto parts business. He told me he admired working women like me, that raising a daughter alone was something he respected deeply. I wanted to believe him, but there was something that made me uncomfortable that day. Something small, almost invisible. When Claire went to the kitchen to get more coffee, Ethan looked at me and said, "Mrs. Amanda, I come from a family where the man provides and the woman takes care of the home, but I understand that Claire works. That is fine. For now. For now." Those 2 words stuck with me, but Claire was in love, and I wanted to see her happy. They got married a year later. It was a simple wedding in a garden south of the city. Claire wore a white lace dress, simple but beautiful. Robert walked her down the aisle. I cried. Ethan promised to love her, care for her, respect her. I believed him. The first few months were good. Claire came to my house often. She told me Ethan was attentive, that they cooked together, that they went for walks on Sundays. She seemed happy, but little by little, the visits became less frequent. "Mom, it is just that Ethan wants us to spend more time with his family." "Oh, sure, honey, that is fine." Then she stopped coming on Sundays. "Mom, my father-in-law invites us to eat every Sunday. He says it is family tradition." "I understand, honey. But you miss me, right?" She laughed, but it was no longer the same laugh. And then one day, I noticed something on her face, a shadow, a tiredness that did not come from work. "Claire, are you okay?" "Yes, Mom, I am just tired." But her eyes said something else. I wanted to ask more, I wanted to insist, but I did not. And that was my first mistake. Because when a mother feels something is not right with her daughter, she must act, she must ask, she must break the silence. I did not do it. And that omission, that silence of mine, almost cost Claire everything. Now, standing in front of that door with Robert by my side and that object in my hand, I understood something. Sometimes a mother's love is not enough just by being there. You have to be present, you have to act. And that day, I was going to act. The first time something was not right was 6 months after the wedding. I did not see it at that moment, nobody saw it. But now looking back, I understand everything started there. It was a Saturday afternoon. Claire arrived at my house without warning. That was already strange. Since she got married, she always let me know before coming. "It is just that Ethan wants to know where I am," she used to tell me. I thought it was affection. Attention, it was not affection. That Saturday, Claire knocked on the door with trembling hands. Her eyes were red as if she had been crying. But when I asked her if she was okay, she smiled. "Yes, Mom, I just came to see you." I hugged her. She smelled of lavender soap, of a clean house, of that mixture of bleach and softener she always used. But she also smelled of fear. I do not know how to explain it. Mothers smell fear in our children. We sat in the living room. I served her iced tea. She took the glass with both hands as if she needed to hold on to something. "How is Ethan?" I asked. "Good. Working a lot." "And your father-in-law?" She stayed silent just for a second, but that second was enough. He is fine too. He is demanding. But that is how he is. Demanding. That word should have alerted me, but I did not want to see. Claire stayed all afternoon with me. We watched an old movie, the kind we watched together when she was a little girl. We ate buttered popcorn. We laughed. For a moment, I felt everything was fine. But when she left before getting into her car, she turned around and said to me, "Mom, if one day I need to stay a few days with you, can I?" My heart stopped. "Of course, honey. This is always your house. Why do you ask that?" "For nothing. I just wanted to know." She left. I stood at the door watching her drive away with a knot in my stomach that did not go away all night. I should have called Robert. I should have gone to her house the next day. I should have asked her what was happening. I did not do it because Claire had told me everything was fine, and I wanted to believe her. Weeks passed. Claire stopped coming. She did not even call me on Sundays anymore. I looked for her, but she always had an excuse. "Mom, sorry. My father-in-law invited us to eat. Mom, I cannot. I have to clean the house." Mom, Ethan wants us to visit his aunt. Always someone else. Always another priority. And I foolishly thought, well, it is normal. She is newly married. She is building her life. But one afternoon while I was at the supermarket, I saw Claire. She was in the vegetable aisle choosing tomatoes. She was wearing a long sweater with long sleeves, even though it was hot. She had her hair tied back in a low ponytail. She looked thinner. "Claire!" I shouted excitedly. She turned around. Her face lit up for a second, but then I saw something in her eyes. Something like panic. "Mom! What a surprise!" I approached her, hugged her. She went rigid. "How are you, honey? I have not heard from you in weeks." "Sorry, Mom. I have been busy." "Busy with what? You do not even call me anymore. It is just, you know, the housework, Ethan." I looked at her closely. She had deep dark circles under her eyes. The skin on her face was pale. And when she moved to grab some onions, her sweater rode up a bit. I saw a bruise on her wrist. "Claire, what is that?" She pulled down her sleeve quickly. "Nothing, Mom. I hit myself with the car door." "With the car door?" "Yes, you know how clumsy I am." She smiled, but that smile did not reach her eyes. I wanted to insist. I wanted to grab her by the arm, take her to my house, sit her at the kitchen table and tell her, "Tell me the truth. What is happening to you?" But at that moment, her phone rang. She took it out of her pocket. I saw the name on the screen, Ethan. Her face changed. Suddenly, all the light went out. "Sorry, Mom, I have to answer." She walked away a few steps. I stayed there pretending to check the avocados, but listening. "Yes, I am coming." "No." I did not take long. "I am buying what you asked for." "Yes, your dad already arrived, I know." "I am coming, Ethan. I am coming." She hung up. She returned to where I was. She was no longer smiling. "Mom, I have to go. Ethan is waiting for me." "So fast? We have not even talked." "I know, sorry. It is just that my father-in-law arrived early and I have to prepare dinner." "Does your father-in-law live with you?" "No, Mom. But he eats with us almost every day. You know Ethan is his only son, and since his wife died, well, he is alone." Something in my chest tightened. "And are you okay with that?" "Of course, Mom. It is normal. He is his dad." It was not normal, but I said nothing. Claire gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, grabbed her cart, and left almost running. I stayed there in the middle of the supermarket with empty hands and a shrinking heart. That night, I could not sleep. I called Robert. "Robert, I need us to talk about Claire." "What happened?" "I do not know, but something is not right." "Did she tell you something?" "No, but I saw her today. She has a bruise on her wrist and she is very thin and nervous." "And do you think Ethan is hitting her?" "I do not know. She says no." "But Amanda, if you suspect something, we have to do something." "I know, but I cannot accuse him without proof. And what if I am wrong? What if Claire gets mad at me?" Robert sighed. "Okay, but I am going to talk to her alone." "Thank you, Robert." I hung up, but Robert could not talk to her, because every time he tried to see her, Claire had an excuse. She was busy. She was tired. Ethan could not make it that day. His father-in-law needed something, always something, and I from afar saw how my daughter was fading little by little, like a candle. Someone is blowing out soft constant until there is no light left. 3 more months passed. Claire turned 26. I made a dinner at my house. I invited Robert. I invited her friends. I invited Ethan. Ethan arrived late. He arrived serious. He sat at the table without smiling, without talking to anyone. Claire was next to him, quiet, tense, as if she were waiting for an explosion. I tried to make the night pleasant. I made her favorite food, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, glazed carrots. I put on music. I brought out the cake, but the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. When we sang Happy Birthday, Claire tried to smile, but her eyes were full of tears. After dinner, Ethan stood up. "We are leaving. My dad is waiting for us." "Your dad?" I asked. "But it is Claire's birthday." "I know. But he wants to see her too. She is his daughter-in-law." Claire got up without saying anything. She gave me a quick hug. "Thank you, Mom. It was beautiful." "Honey, why do not you stay a little longer? Your friends just arrived." "I cannot, Mom." "Ethan is right. His dad is waiting for us. They left." I stayed there, watching the door close with the half-eaten cake and the candles still lit. Robert came up to me. "Amanda, that man is not right." "I know, and neither is Claire." "I know, we have to do something. But what, Robert? What do we do if she does not let us help her?" He had no answer. Nobody did. And meanwhile, my daughter was losing herself, and I, her mother, did not know how to save her. Until that day when she called me with a broken voice, telling me, "Mom, my father-in-law hit me," and I understood there was no more time for doubts. The time had come to act. After that birthday, something changed in me. I could no longer pretend everything was fine. I could no longer wait for Claire to tell me the truth, because the words of a suffering daughter do not always arrive. Sometimes silence screams louder. I decided to visit her without warning. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I left work early, invented an excuse with my boss, and drove to the house where Claire lived with Ethan. It was a small house in a quiet suburb north of the city. Nothing fancy but pretty. It had a little garden in front with purple flowers. When I arrived, Ethan's car was not there. That gave me courage. I knocked on the door. I waited. No one opened. I knocked again. "Claire?" "It is me, Mom." I heard footsteps slow, as if someone were hesitating whether to open or not. The door opened just a crack. Claire peeked her face out. Her hair was loose, messy. She was wearing an old t-shirt and sweatpants. She looked tired, very tired. "Mom, what are you doing here? I came to see you. Can I come in?" She looked back towards the inside of the house as if she were looking for something or someone. "Ethan is not here," I said. I saw his car was gone. She took a deep breath. She opened the door a little more. "Come in." I entered. The house smelled of bleach, clean, too clean, as if someone had been scrubbing for hours. The living room was impeccable. The cushions on the sofa perfectly arranged the coffee table without a speck of dust. Everything in its place, everything perfect, too perfect. "Do you want coffee?" Claire asked. "Yes, honey, thanks." We went to the kitchen, and there I saw something that broke my soul. On the wall next to the stove, there was a list, a handwritten list in a man's handwriting. It said, "House rules. Food must be ready at 7 o'clock sharp. The house must be clean before I arrive. No visitors without notice. Do not leave without permission. Respect my father as if he were yours." I froze. Claire. What is this? She kept making coffee without turning to look at me. "Those are Ethan's rules." "Ethan's rules?" "He says a house works better when there is order." "And do you agree with this?" She remained silent. She poured the coffee into 2 cups. She passed me one. She sat across from me at the kitchen table. "Mom, I know you do not understand, but that is how his family works. His dad raised Ethan like that, and Ethan wants our house to be the same. And you? What do you want?" She looked down. "I want my marriage to work. But is this a marriage, Claire? Or is it a prison?" She looked up. Her eyes were full of tears. "Do not say that, Mom. Honey, those rules, that is not normal. That is not love. That is control. It is not control. It is discipline. Ethan says women nowadays do not know how to be wives anymore, that they do not know how to keep a home, that his mom was different, that she knew her place." Her place? Claire, listen to yourself. Since when do you talk like that? Since I understood that if I want this to work, I have to adapt. Adapt? Or erase yourself? She stood up. She was shaking. "Mom, I appreciate you coming, but I do not need you to tell me how to live my life. I chose to marry Ethan. I chose this. Did you choose this, or did they convince you this is the right thing? Stop it, Mom." Her scream left me breathless. Claire had never screamed at me. Never. She covered her mouth with her hands as if she could not believe what she had just done. Tears began to fall. "Sorry, Mom, sorry. I did not want to." I stood up. I hugged her. She collapsed in my arms. And she cried like I had not seen her cry since she was a little girl. "I am so tired, Mom. So tired. I know, honey, I know. Ethan was not like this before. I swear. When we met, he was different. He was sweet, he was attentive. But after we got married, he changed. Or maybe I never really knew him. Has he hit you?" She pulled away from me. She wiped her tears. "No, not him. He has never laid a hand on me." "Then who?" Silence. "Claire, who?" She closed her eyes. "His dad." The world stopped. "What, his dad? Him?" He screams at me. He tells me I am useless, that I do not know how to cook, that I do not know how to clean, that I am no good to be his son's wife. And sometimes he pushes me, or pulls my arm, or throws things at me. And Ethan? Ethan does nothing. He says his dad is right, that I have to learn, that his mom endured more. It was hard to breathe. Claire, that is violence. No, Mom, it is not violence. It is just. It is just that his dad is from another generation. He is one of those tough men. You know how they are. No, honey. That is not being from another generation. That is being abusive. And your husband is an accomplice. Do not say that. Why do you defend him? Because he is my husband. And so what? Does that give him the right to let you suffer? She stayed silent. She looked at the floor. Her hands were shaking. I knelt in front of her. I took her hands in mine. "Claire, listen to me well. You do not deserve this. You deserve a man who defends you, who protects you, who truly loves you. And if Ethan cannot do that, then he is not the man for you. But Mom, I love him. I know, honey. But love is not enough. Love without respect is not love. It is dependency. And dependency kills." She looked at me with those eyes full of pain, and for a moment I thought she was going to react. I thought she was going to tell me, "You are right. Mom, get me out of here." But she did not. Instead, she wiped her tears, stood up, and said, "Mom, I appreciate you worrying about me, but I am fine. Really. I am just going through a difficult patch. All marriages go through this. No, Claire, not all." "Yes, Mom. You and Dad had problems too. But your dad never let anyone disrespect me, and I never let him control me." "Well, maybe that is why you separated." Those words hurt me more than I expected, Claire noticed. Her face changed. "Sorry, Mom. I did not mean to say that. I am confused. I am tired. But I promise you I am fine. Okay? I promise." I did not believe her, but I could not force her to leave. I could not drag her out of that house, because Claire was no longer a child. She was an adult woman, and the decisions were hers, even if those decisions were killing her inside. I said goodbye to her. I hugged her tight. I told her if she ever needed help, she just had to call me, at any time, day or night. She nodded. She told me yes, that she would. But I knew she would not, because Claire was already trapped. And the worst of all is that she did not see it. Or maybe she did see it, but she had decided to stay silent, submit, endure. Like so many women, like her grandmother, like her great-grandmother, like generations of women who learned that suffering in silence was a virtue. But I was not going to let my daughter follow that path. I left that house with a broken heart, but also with something else. A certainty. If Claire could not save herself, then I would do it for her. I called Robert that same night. "I need you to be alert. If Claire calls me, if she tells me something happened, I need you to be ready to act. What do you think is going to happen?" "I do not know. But something is going to happen. And when it happens, I will not hesitate. I am going for her, and I am going to get her out of there. And if Ethan resists, then we will deal with Ethan." And his dad there was a silence. "If his dad gets involved, Robert, you are going to have to do your job. Understood." I hung up, and I waited. I waited for weeks, for months, with my stomach in knots, with fear gnawing at me inside, asking myself if I was exaggerating, if I was being an overprotective mother, if Claire was really in danger, or if I was just imagining things. Until one day while I was at work, my phone rang, and I heard my daughter's voice, broken, terrified, telling me, "Mom, my father-in-law hit me," and everything exploded. Sometimes we trust too much in those we should not. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read you. The months that followed that visit were the hardest of my life. I kept working, I kept living my routine, but a part of me was always alert, always waiting, like an animal that senses the storm before the first drop falls. Claire called me from time to time, always brief conversations, always with that controlled, measured voice as if someone were listening on the other side. "Hi, Mom. How are you?" "Good, my daughter. And you?" "Good, too. Just calling to say hi. Are you sure? Is everything okay?" "Yes, Mom. Everything is fine. I have to let you go. Love you." And she would hang up. I would stay with the phone in my hand, feeling that something was wrong, but unable to do anything. Robert told me to be patient, that Claire had to realize it on her own, that if we pressured her, she would distance herself more. Maybe he was right, but patience hurts. It hurts like a slow knife piercing your chest every day. One afternoon while I was at the market buying vegetables for the week, I saw someone familiar. It was Lupita, a neighbor from the suburb where Claire lived. I knew her because once when I went to visit my daughter, she was watering her garden, and we said hello. "Mrs. Amanda, right?" she said to me. "Yes." "Lupita?" "Yes. Good to see you. How is Claire?" The question took me by surprise. "Good. Why?" Lupita lowered her voice. She looked around as if she did not want anyone else to hear. "It is just that I do not want to get involved where I am not called, but I have noticed things." My heart started beating faster. "What kind of things?" "Well, sometimes I hear screams from Claire's house. A man screams, very loud, and once I saw Claire's father-in-law leave the house slamming the door. He looked furious. And afterwards, I saw Claire in the window. She was crying. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. When was that? About a month ago. I wanted to go knock on the door, but my husband told me not to get involved, that it was family business. And have you seen Claire lately? Yes, but she hardly comes out anymore. Before I saw her go out for walks or going to work. Now I hardly see her. And when I see her, she is always in a hurry as if she did not want anyone to talk to her. And Ethan? He leaves early and comes back late. But his dad, that man, goes almost every day. Sometimes he stays until night. And Claire is alone with him? Yes. Well, until Ethan arrives. My hands were shaking. "Lupita, if you hear screams again, can you call me?" I gave her my phone number. "Please, she is my daughter." She nodded. "Of course, ma'am. I have a daughter, too." "I understand." We said goodbye. I left the market without buying anything. I got into the car and cried. I cried out of rage, out of helplessness, out of fear, because now they were not just suspicions anymore. Now there were witnesses, there were screams, there were tears, and I, her mother, could do nothing. Or maybe yes. Maybe I could do something I had been avoiding. I called Robert. "I need you to investigate Claire's father-in-law, Ethan's dad. I want to know who he is, what he has done, if he has a record." "Do you think he has a record?" "I do not know. But a man who treats a woman like that, who screams at her, who pushes her, that man did not learn that from nowhere. Someone taught him. Or he has always been like that." "Okay. Let me see what I can find. What is his name?" "Richard. Richard Martinez. He was military. Now he has an auto parts business in the South. Perfect. I will call you in a few days. Robert was a cop. He had contacts. He knew how to look for information." 3 days later, he called me. "Amanda, I found something." "What?" "Richard Martinez has a history. 15 years ago, his wife Ethan's mom filed a domestic violence complaint. My blood ran cold." "What?" "Yes. But she withdrew it a few days later. According to the report, she said it had been a misunderstanding, that they were going through marital problems, that everything was resolved. And after nothing. There were no more complaints. But according to some neighbors from that time, the screams were heard often, and she, the wife, stopped leaving the house. She became very quiet, very submissive. And how did she die? Officially, cancer, 8 years ago. But some say cancer was not the only thing that killed her, that she was very thin, very weak, as if she had stopped eating, as if she had given up. I felt like I was running out of air. Robert, that man, killed his wife. Not with a blow, but he killed her. He extinguished her little by little. I know, and now he is doing the same with Claire. And Ethan? Ethan grew up seeing that, seeing his father scream, seeing his mother submit. He learned that is how a marriage works, that the man commands and the woman obeys, and now he is repeating the pattern. I have to get Claire out of there, but she does not want to leave. Then I am going to make her want to. How? I do not know, but I am going to do something. I hung up. That night I could not sleep. I stayed awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about Claire, thinking about that house, thinking about that man Richard entering every day, screaming, pushing, destroying my daughter's soul, little by little. And thinking about Ethan, about the man I thought was good, about the man who promised to love Claire and who now coward let his father treat her like trash. I decided to do something risky. The next day, I left work early. I drove to Claire's house. I knew Ethan would not be there. I knew only Claire and Richard would be there, and that was exactly what I wanted. I arrived at 3 p.m. I rang the bell. No one opened. I rang again. I waited. Finally, the door opened. It was Richard, tall, broad shoulders, hard face, cold gaze. "What do you want?" He said to me with that tone men use who believe women do not deserve respect. "I came to see my daughter. She is not here." "Yes, she is. Her car is there." I pointed to Claire's car parked in front of the house. Richard clenched his jaw. I said, "She is not here," and I say I want to see her. We stared at each other. It was a silent duel, a duel of wills. I was not going to back down. After a few seconds, he stepped aside. "Come in, but do not take long. I have things to do." I entered. The house was in semi-darkness, the curtains closed, the air heavy. "Claire!" I shouted. There was no answer. "Claire?" "She is in the kitchen," Richard said, crossing his arms. I went to the kitchen, and there was my daughter with her back to me in front of the stove cooking. "Claire." She turned around, and what I saw destroyed me. Her face was swollen, her eyes red, and on her left cheek a red mark fresh. "Mom," she whispered. Richard appeared behind me. "Your daughter is very clumsy." She hit herself with the cupboard. I looked at him with hatred. "Did she hit herself with the cupboard, or did you hit her?" His face did not change. He showed no surprise. He showed no guilt. He only showed contempt. "Ma'am, I recommend you leave. You have nothing to do here. I have everything to do here. She is my daughter, and she is my son's wife. And as long as she lives in this house, I have the right to correct her when she is wrong." "Correct her? Is that what you call it? Hitting a woman is correcting her? If she does not know how to cook, she has to learn. My wife learned. And Claire will learn too." Claire started to cry. "Mr. Richard, please no more." "Shut up!" he yelled at her, and I exploded. I approached him, small, yes, but furious. "Do not yell at her again. Do not lay a hand on her again, because if you do, I will make you regret it." He laughed, a cold laugh, mocking. "You? What are you going to do? A single woman? A divorcee? I am divorced. But I am not alone, and if you touch a hair on my daughter's head again, you are going to know what hell is. Are you threatening me? No, I am warning you." We looked at each other. This time, he was the first to look away. "Get out!" "Before I call the police." "Call them. Claire's dad is a police officer. I will be delighted for him to come." That threw him off, only for a second, but enough. "Claire, let's go," I said. "You cannot take her." Richard said. "She is of legal age. She can leave whenever she wants." "Right, Claire." Claire looked at me. She had so much fear in her eyes. So much pain, so much confusion. Mom, I cannot. Ethan is going to get mad. Let him get mad. You cannot stay here. But he is my husband, and you are my daughter, and I am not going to let anyone hurt you. Not his father, not him, not anyone. Claire cried harder. Mom, I do not know what to do. I do. Trust me. Richard took a step towards us. If you take her, Ethan is going to go look for her, and it is not going to be pretty. Let him come. I will be waiting for him. I took Claire's hand. She trembled, but she did not let go. Let's go, honey. We left that house. Richard did not stop us, but his look was pure hate. I got Claire into my car. She cried without stopping. Mom, what am I going to do? Ethan is going to kill me. No, Claire. No one is going to kill you. I promise. I drove back to my house. Claire did not stop crying the whole way. When we arrived, I sat her in the living room. I made her chamomile tea. I hugged her. Everything is going to be fine, honey. I promise. But deep down, I knew this was just beginning, because men like Richard do not let their victims go so easily, and men like Ethan, raised in violence, do not either. That night, I called Robert. I need you to come. Claire is with me, and I think Ethan is coming. I am on my way. And we waited. While I tell all this, I think about where you might be listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. Claire spent the whole night at my house. She did not talk much. She just cried. She hugged herself. She trembled every time she heard a noise on the street. I sat next to her on the living room sofa and did not move. I hugged her. I stroked her hair like when she was a little girl and had nightmares. It is over, honey. It is over. But it was not over. It was just beginning. Robert arrived at 9 at night. He was still wearing his uniform. When he saw Claire, his face changed. His eyes filled with tears. What did they do to you, my baby? Claire got up and ran to hug him. She cried on his chest like I had not seen her cry in years. Dad, sorry. Sorry for not telling you sooner. You do not have to apologize, Claire. None of this is your fault. Robert looked at me over Claire's head. His eyes said the same as mine. This could not go on like this. The three of us sat in the living room. I made coffee. Claire drank it slowly with trembling hands. Claire Robert said with a soft voice, I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning, without fear, without shame, everything. Claire looked down. I do not know where to start. Start at the beginning. When did all this start? She took a deep breath. I think it started before we got married. But I did not realize. What do you mean? When Ethan and I were dating, he was very attentive, but also very jealous. If I went out with my friends, he called me every half hour. If I did not answer quickly, he got mad. He said I did not love him, that if I really loved him, I would always be available for him. Robert and I looked at each other. I thought it was because he loved me a lot. Claire continued that jealousy was a sign of love, but now I understand it wasn't that it was a sign of control. And his dad? I asked. When did you meet his dad? I met him a month after starting to date Ethan. We went to Texas. Richard, Ethan's dad, received me in his house, but he was not kind. He looked me up and down as if he were evaluating me. And then he told Ethan in front of me, she is pretty, but I hope she knows how to cook, because a woman who does not know how to cook is useless as a wife. And what did Ethan say? He laughed. He said, don't worry, Dad. If she doesn't know, you teach her. Claire sighed. I felt uncomfortable, but I thought it was just his way of being, that he was from another generation, that with time he would accept me. And did he accept you? Robert asked. No, he never accepted me. From the wedding day, he started criticizing me. He said my dress was too simple, that the party food was not good, that I had invited too many people from my side and few from his side. Everything I did was wrong. And did Ethan defend you? Claire shook her head. No, he just said, my dad is right. You have to improve." I felt rage rising in my chest. After the wedding, Claire continued, "Richard started coming to our house every day. At first, he only came for dinner. Ethan said his dad was alone, that since his mom died, he had no one, that it was our duty to take care of him." "Take care of him?" I said. "Or let him control you?" "I did not see it that way, Mom. I thought I was being a good daughter-in-law, a good wife. But nothing I did was enough. If I cooked chicken, he said he wanted beef. If I cooked beef, he said it was tough. If the house was clean, he found dust somewhere. If I smiled, he said I was a fool. If I was serious, he said I was bitter." The tears began to fall again. And Ethan always agreed with him, always. He said his dad just wanted to help me, that if I listened to his advice, I would be a better wife. "And when did the hitting start?" Robert asked with a tense voice. Claire closed her eyes. 6 months ago, I was cooking. I made vegetable soup. Richard arrived, tasted the soup, and said it was horrible, that it looked like dirty water. I told him I was sorry, that I was going to make it again. But he stood up, grabbed the plate, and threw it against the wall. The pieces of glass scattered all over the floor. And then he grabbed me by the arm and pulled me towards him. My heart was beating so hard it hurt. He told me, "You are useless. My wife cooked 1,000 times better than you. I do not know what my son saw in such a mediocre woman." I started to cry. I told him I was sorry, that I would improve. But he squeezed my arm so hard he left bruises. And then he pushed me. I fell. I hit my hip against the table. Robert stood up. He was furious. And where was Ethan? In the living room watching television. And he did nothing? He came into the kitchen. He saw his dad yelling at me. He saw me on the floor. And he just said, "Claire, get up, clean this mess. And next time, cook something decent." The silence that followed was heavy, so heavy, I could almost not breathe. "That was the first hit," said Claire. "But it was not the only one." From that day, Richard started being more aggressive. He pushed me, pulled my hair, pinched me. And always with Ethan there, watching everything and saying nothing. "Why didn't you call me sooner?" Robert asked with a broken voice. "Because I was ashamed, Dad. Because I thought it was my fault. That if I were a better wife, better cook, better woman, none of this would happen." "Claire, listen to me well," Robert said, kneeling in front of her. "None of this is your fault, nothing. That man is an abuser and your husband is a coward, and both deserve to go to jail. But Dad, I love him. I love Ethan. Loving someone who lets you suffer? That is not love, honey. That is fear." Claire covered her face with her hands. "I do not know what to do. I do not know how to get out of this." I approached her. I took her hands in mine. "You already got out, Claire. You are here with us. You are safe. But Ethan is going to come. He is going to force me to return." "Let him come," Robert said. "I will be here, and he is not taking you anywhere. And if he brings his dad? If he brings his dad, even better, because I am going to arrest him for assault. But Dad, I have no proof. I did not go to the doctor. I did not take photos of the bruises. The proof is on your body, and there is also your testimony. That is enough." Claire shook her head. "It is not going to be enough. Richard has money. He has contacts. He can pay lawyers. He can say I am lying, that I am crazy. Then we are going to make sure he cannot," I said. Both looked at me. "How?" asked Robert. "Tomorrow we are going to go with Claire to the district attorney. We are going to file a formal complaint against Richard for violence, against Ethan for complicity. Mom, I cannot. Yes, you can. And you are going to do it. Because if you do not do it now, this will continue. And one day that man is going to go too far, and he is going to kill you." Claire remained silent. She knew I was right. "Okay," she said finally, "I am going to do it." Robert nodded. "Good. I am going to accompany you, and I am going to make sure this complaint is taken seriously." The three of us hugged. It was a long hug, a hug of a broken but united family, of a family that fights, that resists. But that night, something else happened. At 11 at night, there was a knock on the door. The three of us froze. "It is him," whispered Claire. Robert stood up. He approached the door. "Who is it?" he asked without opening. "It is Ethan. I came for my wife. She is not here. I know she is there. Her mom took her. I want to talk to her. There is nothing to talk about. Leave." "I am not leaving without Claire." Ethan's voice sounded desperate, furious. Robert opened the door. Just a little. Enough for Ethan to see his uniform. "I told you to leave. If you do not leave, I arrest you for disturbing the peace." "Are you threatening me?" "No. I am warning you. Claire is here of her own free will, and she is not going with you. She is my wife. She has to come with me. She is a person. She is not your property." Ethan tried to push the door. Robert held it. "Take one more step and I handcuff you." Ethan stood still. He was breathing heavily. His eyes were red as if he had been crying, or drinking, or both. "Claire!" he shouted. "Claire, come out. We have to talk." Claire got up from the sofa. I tried to stop her, but she signaled me with her hand. She approached the door. Robert stepped aside. Ethan said, "Claire," with a firm voice, "I am not going back." "What? Why? What did your mom tell you? Is she putting ideas in your head?" "Nobody put anything in me." I saw the truth. "What truth?" "That your dad hit me and you allowed it. My dad was just teaching you." "No!" shouted Claire. "Your dad is abusing me and you are an accomplice." Ethan stayed silent. For the first time, he had no answer. "I loved you, Ethan. I really loved you. But I can no longer live like this. I can no longer pretend everything is fine when it is not. Claire, please. Let's talk. Let's fix this. There is nothing to fix. Tomorrow I am going to the DA. I am going to report your dad. And if necessary, you too." Ethan's face changed, from pleading to fury. "Are you going to report me?" "Me? After everything I did for you. What did you do for me, Ethan? Let me suffer? Let your dad humiliate me? Is that what you did for me? I gave you a home. I gave you my last name. I gave you. You gave me nothing. You only took from me. You took my dignity, my peace, my happiness." Ethan took a step back as if Claire's words were blows. "You are going to regret this," he said with a cold voice. "Both of you are going to regret it." Robert stepped in front of him. "Is that a threat?" "No, it is a promise, because my dad is not going to stay quiet. And neither am I." He turned around and left. He got into his car and sped off. Robert closed the door. He looked at me. "This isn't over. I know. That man is going to return, and he is probably going to bring his father. I know, and when they return, it is going to be ugly. I know, Robert. But I do not care, because this time I am not going to let them hurt my daughter." Claire hugged us both. "Thank you. Thank you for not leaving me alone. You are never going to be alone, honey," I said. "Never." That night, the three of us slept in the living room, Robert on the recliner, Claire and I on the sofa bed. I could not sleep. I stayed awake watching the door, waiting for them to knock again. But no one knocked, and that scared me more because men like Richard and Ethan do not give up easily, and when they return with everything. The next day dawned with a gray sky, dense clouds, as if even the weather knew what was coming. Claire woke up early. She had deep, dark circles. She had not slept well. None of us did. I made coffee. I made scrambled eggs with beans. I set the table. I tried to make everything seem normal, but nothing was normal. Robert arrived at 8 in the morning. He was no longer wearing a uniform. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans, white shirt, a dark jacket. "Ready?" he asked Claire. She nodded, but her hands were shaking. "I am going to be with you the whole time," I said, taking her hand. "You are not alone. I know, Mom, but I am scared. It is normal to be scared, but fear cannot stop you. You already took the hardest step. Now you just have to keep going." We left the house. We got into Robert's car. I sat in the back with Claire. She clung to my hand as if it were a lifesaver. During the ride, no one spoke much. Only the sound of the engine, the noise of the city, the horns, life going on oblivious to our pain. We arrived at the district attorney's office at 9:30. It was a gray, cold building full of people waiting, people with tired faces, people who had seen too much, people like us. Robert knew some of the agents. He helped us skip part of the line. He took us to a small office where a woman in her 40s with glasses and hair tied back was waiting for us. "Good morning. I am Officer Mendez from the DA's office. I understand you are coming to file a violence complaint." Claire nodded. "Yes." "Very well. I need you to tell me everything, with details, and calmly, okay?" Claire took a deep breath and started talking. She told her everything, from the beginning, from Ethan's jealousy when they were dating, from Richard's criticisms, from the first hit, from the thrown soup, from the bruises, from the constant fear. Officer Mendez took notes. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes said she had heard this story 1,000 times, with 1,000 different faces, but always the same story. "Do you have physical evidence? Photos of the bruises? Medical reports?" Claire shook her head. "No. I was afraid Ethan would find out." "Are there witnesses?" "A neighbor, Lupita. She heard screams." Robert intervened. "I can get her testimony." "Perfect. That helps," said the officer. "And the main aggressor is the father-in-law, Richard Martinez?" "Yes." "And your husband, Ethan Martinez? Has he also physically assaulted you?" Claire hesitated. "Not directly, but he allowed it. He saw how his dad hit me and did nothing. It is as if he were hitting me too." The officer nodded. "That is called complicity, and it is also a crime. I am going to include both in the complaint." "What is going to happen now?" I asked. "We are going to issue a summons for Richard Martinez. He will have to come to testify. If there is enough evidence, he will be detained. As for Ethan, he will also have to testify. And depending on his testimony, he could face charges for failure to assist. And Claire? Is she protected? We are going to issue a restraining order. Neither Richard nor Ethan can approach Claire. If they do, they will be arrested immediately." Claire started to cry. "And if they do not respect the order? That is why your dad is here," said the officer, looking at Robert. "He can protect you. And so can we. But you have to be strong, Claire. This is just beginning." Claire signed the complaint. Her hands were shaking so much she could almost not hold the pen, but she did it. She signed. We left the DA's office with a copy of the complaint, with the restraining order, with a paper that said Claire was protected. But papers do not stop bullets. They do not stop blows. They do not stop men filled with rage. And I knew it. We returned to my house. Claire stayed in her room, the old room where she grew up, where she was a child, where she was happy. I made lunch. I tried to keep myself busy, but my hands were shaking. My mind would not stop imagining what Richard and Ethan would do when they received the notification. At 3 p.m, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. "Hello?" Silence. "Hello?" I repeated, and then a voice that froze my blood. "Mrs. Amanda, this is Richard." I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. "What do you want?" "I want you to return Claire to me. Claire is not mine to return to you. She decided to leave, and she decided to report you. That complaint is going nowhere. I have lawyers. I have contacts. I can make it disappear. Do it. But Claire is not going back to you, nor to your son. You do not understand, ma'am. You are destroying a family. You are putting ideas in Claire's head. You are making my son suffer." "Your son suffers? And Claire? What about her? What about the suffering you caused her?" "I was just educating her, teaching her to be a good wife like my wife was." "Your wife died sad and alone. I do not want that for my daughter." There was a long, tense silence. "You are going to regret this," he said finally. They already told me that, but I do not care. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I called Robert. Richard called me. He threatened me. What did he say? That I was going to regret it. That he has lawyers. That he can make the complaint disappear. He cannot. It is already registered. It is already in the system. He can hire whoever he wants, but this is not going away. But Robert, that man is dangerous. I know. That is why I am going to stay there with you. I am not going to let anything happen to you. Thank you. I hung up. Claire came down from her room. She had red eyes. Who called? I did not want to lie to her. Richard. Her face went pale. What did he say? Nothing important. Just empty threats. Mom, he does not make empty threats. If he said something, he is going to fulfill it. That is why your dad is going to be here. And that is why we are not leaving the house until this is resolved. Claire nodded. But I knew she was scared. So scared. That night, Robert arrived with a suitcase. He stayed in the guest room. He put his service pistol on the nightstand just in case. We ate dinner in silence. Vegetable soup, bread. Nothing elaborate. Just something to fill the stomach. At 10 at night, Claire went to sleep. I stayed in the living room with Robert. Do you think Ethan will come? I asked. I do not know, but if he comes, he will not be alone. Do you think he will bring Richard? It is possible. And what do? We call the police. He can arrest them for violating the restraining order, and if they arrive before the police arrive. Robert looked at me. Then I detained them. Robert, I do not want anything to happen to you. Nothing is going to happen to me. But I am not going to let anything happen to Claire either, or to you. I stood up. I hugged him. Thank you for everything. You do not have to thank me. She is my daughter, and I am always going to protect her. I went to sleep, but I couldn't. I stayed lying down, staring at the ceiling, listening to every noise, every car that passed, every dog that barked. And then, at 2 a.m, I heard it. An engine. It stopped in front of my house. I got up. I went to the window. I looked through the curtain. It was Ethan's car. And he was not alone. Richard was with him. My heart started beating so fast I thought it would jump out of my chest. They got out of the car. Ethan was holding something in his hand. I could not see what it was. Richard walked with heavy steps, with determination. I ran to Robert's room. Robert, they are here. He got up immediately. He grabbed his gun. He went to the window. Damn it, he whispered. What do we do? Stay with Claire. I am going out. No, Robert, do not go out. Let's call the police. I already called them. But they will take time. And I cannot let them get close to the house. He went out. I ran to Claire's room. She was awake, shaking. What is happening, Mom? They are here. Ethan and Richard. No, 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 she started to cry. What do they want? I do not know. But your dad is outside. He is not going to let them in. We hugged. We heard voices outside, shouts. Claire, come out. We have to talk. It was Ethan's voice. I am not coming out, shouted Claire from the window. Go away. I'm not leaving without you. She is not coming out, shouted Robert. And if you do not leave, I arrest you. You have no authority here, shouted Richard. This is a family matter. It stopped being a family matter when you put your hands on her. There was a struggle, shouts, and then a sound I will never forget, a gunshot. Claire screamed. I screamed. We ran to the window. Robert was on the ground bleeding. I still wonder if I did the right thing. And you? What would you have done in my place? Everything happened in slow motion. I saw Robert on the ground. I saw the blood. I saw Ethan with a gun in his hand, shaking with wide eyes as if he could not believe what he had just done. I saw Richard still with a hard face, showing nothing, as if this was what he expected, as if this was part of the plan. I did not scream. I did not cry. My body moved on its own. I left the house. I ran towards Robert. Claire screamed behind me, but I did not stop. I knelt beside him. He was conscious. He was breathing with difficulty, Blood was coming out of his left shoulder. Robert, look at me." I am fine, he whispered. "It is just the shoulder." I took off my robe. I pressed it against the wound. He grimaced in pain. Hold on, the ambulance is coming." I looked up. Ethan was still there, standing with the gun hanging from his hand, paralyzed in shock. Richard took a step towards us. It was self-defense, he said with a cold voice. He threatened us. He drew his weapon. My son just defended himself. "Lies," I shouted. "You came here. You violated the restraining order. You attacked him." "There are no witnesses," said Richard. "It is our word against yours." "I am a witness," shouted Claire from the door of the house. "I saw everything." Richard looked at her with contempt. "No one is going to believe a hysterical woman who reported her own family. They are going to think you are lying, as always." Claire started walking towards us. She was trembling. She was crying. But she was walking. "I am not lying, and I am going to tell the truth, even if it costs me everything." Ethan looked at her. For the first time since he got out of the car, he spoke. "Claire, I did not want to. He was going to. He was going to what, Ethan?" said Claire with a broken but firm voice. "Protect me. Is that what he was going to do? Protect me from your father? Protect me from you? Claire, please. Understand. I did not know this was going to happen like this. You knew. You always knew. You knew when your father yelled at me for the first time. You knew when he pushed me. You knew when he hit me. And you did nothing. You never did anything." Ethan dropped the gun to the ground. He covered his face with his hands. He started to sob. I just wanted you to be like my mom. She never complained. She always obeyed. Your mom died. Sad, Ethan. She died alone. She died without love. Is that what you wanted for me?" He did not answer. He just cried. Richard looked at him with disgust. "You are a coward," he told his son, "just like your mother." And at that moment, something changed in Ethan's face. Something broke. He looked up at his father, and for the first time in his life, he answered him. "No. The coward is you. You who beat my mom for years. You who made her feel she was worth nothing. You who killed her little by little. And I let you do the same to Claire, because I learned from you, because I thought that was how a wife was treated." Richard slapped him. "Shut up!" Ethan did not move. He just looked at him, with tears in his eyes. "No, I am not going to shut up anymore. I am not going to obey you anymore. I am not going to be like you anymore." The sirens started sounding in the distance. Richard looked towards the street. His face changed. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. "Let's go," he told Ethan. "No," said Ethan. "I am staying." "What? I am staying. I am going to face what I did. I am going to tell the truth. If you tell the truth, you are going to go to jail. I know, and I deserve it." Richard grabbed his arm. "Do not be stupid. We can still fix this." Ethan pulled away. There was nothing to fix. Not anymore. The patrol cars arrived. 3 cars, 6 police officers. They got out with weapons drawn. "Get on the ground. Everybody on the ground." Richard raised his hands. Ethan knelt down. The police handcuffed them. The ambulance arrived 2 minutes later. The paramedics checked Robert. They said the bullet had gone through the shoulder, that he had lost blood, but that he would be fine. They put him in the ambulance. I wanted to go with him, but Claire grabbed my hand. "Mom, stay with me, please." I stayed. The police took our statements. Mine, Claire's. The neighbors who had come out upon hearing the shot. Richard said nothing. He just looked at the ground with his jaw clenched. Ethan, on the other hand, spoke. He said everything. That his father had abused Claire, that he had allowed it, that night they had come to take her by force, that Robert had tried to stop them, that his father had given him the gun, that he, in a moment of fear and rage, had shot. "I did not want to kill him," he said, crying. "I just wanted him to leave us alone. But my father said if I did not shoot, he would. And he could not finish. He collapsed. The police took Richard and Ethan away. 2 different patrol cars, 2 different destinies. Richard would be charged with aggravated domestic violence threats and violation of a restraining order. Ethan would be charged with attempted homicide complicity and violation of a restraining order. Both would spend years in jail. Claire and I were left alone on the street. It was 3 a.m. The neighborhood was awake, everyone watching, everyone whispering. But I did not care. I hugged my daughter. I hugged her so tight I thought she was going to break. It is over, honey. It is over. And Dad? He is going to be fine, I promise. We went into the house. I closed the door. I closed the curtains. We sat on the living room sofa. Claire would not stop shaking. Mom, Ethan shot Dad. I know. Because of me. No, Claire. It was not your fault. None of this was your fault. It was Richard's fault. It was Ethan's fault. It was the fault of men who learned that violence is power. But I loved him. I know, honey. But love is not enough. Love without respect, without dignity, without peace is not love. It is destruction. Claire cried on my chest. She cried like I had never seen her cry. She cried everything she had kept inside, all the fear, all the pain, all the shame, and I let her. Because sometimes crying is the only way to start healing. The days that followed were difficult. Robert was in the hospital for a week. The bullet had damaged nerves. He needed surgery, physical therapy. But he survived. When I could visit him, I found him sitting in bed with his arm in a sling watching television. "Hi," I said. "Hi," he replied with a tired smile. I sat next to him. "Thank you for protecting us. You do not have to thank me. It was my duty." No, it was more than a duty. It was love, a father's love. He nodded, his eyes filled with tears. "How is Claire?" "Better, little by little. She is going to therapy. She is rebuilding her life." And Ethan, in pre-trial detention, waiting for trial. His lawyer says he is going to plead guilty, that he is going to accept his sentence. And Richard? Also in prison, but he continues to deny everything. He says he is innocent, that Claire is lying, that I manipulated her. Robert sighed. Men like him never accept their responsibility. Never. I know, but it does not matter anymore, because Claire is free, and that is the only thing that matters. Robert took my hand. "You did the right thing, Amanda. You saved our daughter." No. We saved her together. We remained in silence, a comfortable silence, a silence of 2 people who, although no longer a couple, were still a team. 6 months passed. Richard was sentenced to 8 years in prison for aggravated domestic violence and threats. Ethan was sentenced to 5 years for attempted homicide with the possibility of sentence reduction for cooperating with justice. Claire got divorced. The process was fast. Ethan did not oppose. He signed everything without fighting, and little by little my daughter smiled again. She came back to my house on Sundays. She came back to drink cinnamon coffee with me. She came back to tell me her plans. "I want to open that little school, Mom, the one I always dreamed of." "Then open it." "Do you think I can?" "I know you can, because you are strong, stronger than you think." She smiled, and that smile was real. It was free. One day, while we were sitting at the kitchen table, Claire told me something I will never forget. "Mom, thanks for not giving up on me. I was never going to give up, honey. You are my daughter, and a mother never abandons her daughter. But many mothers do. Many women are going through the same thing I went through, and no one helps them. No one listens to them. That is why you have to tell your story, Claire, so that other women know they are not alone, that they can get out, that they can heal." "You think?" "I know." And that was what she did. Claire started giving talks at community centers to women who had suffered violence, to women who were afraid to leave, to women who thought there was no hope. And she told them the truth, that leaving is hard, that it hurts, that it is scary, but that it is worth it, Because life after abuse is possible, peace is possible, happiness is possible. And I, her mother, was there. In every talk, in every tear, in every smile. Because that is what mothers do. We are there. We protect. We fight. Even if it costs us everything. 2 years passed since that night. 2 years in which life taught us that justice does not always arrive quickly, but it always arrives. Richard served his sentence in the North Prison. According to a lawyer friend of Robert's, the man who was once military, who once instilled fear with his mere presence, had become someone else. In prison, no one was afraid of him. No one respected him. The inmates knew why he was there. Violence against women. And in prison, that is a mark that follows you, that isolates you. Richard was no longer the tough man who yelled and hit. He was an old man hunched over who ate alone, who walked with his head down, who no one wanted near. One day I received a call. It was from the prison hospital. Richard had suffered a heart attack. It was not severe, but not mild either. His heart was weak, very weak. The doctor told me Richard had asked to speak with someone from his family, with his son, with his daughter-in-law, but Ethan refused. He said he had nothing to say to him, that his father had died to him the day he forced him to shoot Robert. And Claire also refused, not with rage, not with hate. She simply said, I already forgave him, but that does not mean I have to see him. So Richard was left alone, in that hospital bed, without family, without visitors, without anyone to hold his hand while his heart failed. He once called me crazy. He once told me I was destroying his family. Years later, I learned he was alone in that hospital. Life always collects its debts. I did not feel joy when I found out, but I did not feel pity either. I only felt balance. Because Richard spent his last years exactly how he made so many women feel. Alone, scared, powerless. Ethan got out of jail after 3 years. They reduced his sentence for good behavior and for having cooperated with justice. When he got out, he had nowhere to go. His house had been sold to pay lawyers. His father was still in prison, and Claire had already moved on. He tried to call her once, twice, 10 times. She never answered, until one day Claire decided to see him. Not because she wanted to get back with him, not because she missed him, but because she needed to close that chapter of her life. They met at a cafe, a public place, neutral. I wanted to go with her, but Claire told me, no, Mom, I have to do this alone. I waited for her outside, sitting on a bench, watching people pass, praying in silence. Half an hour later, Claire came out. Her eyes were red, but she was not crying. Are you okay? I asked. Yes, I am fine. What happened? He asked for forgiveness. He told me he had been in therapy, that he had understood all the damage he did to me, that if he could turn back time, he would do everything differently. And what did you tell him? I told him I forgave him. But that forgiving does not mean forgetting, nor returning, nor giving him another opportunity. How did he react? He cried. He told me he understood, that he expected nothing from me, that he just wanted me to know he was changing, that he was trying to be better. And did you believe him? Claire stood thinking. I do not know, Mom. Maybe he is changing, or maybe he just learned to say the right words. But it is no longer my responsibility to know. It is no longer my problem. She is free. I am proud of you, honey. Thanks, Mom, for everything. That was the last time Claire saw Ethan. Months later, I found out through a friend that Ethan had moved to another city, that he worked in construction, that he lived alone, that he had no partner, that he did not talk to anyone about his past. Some would say that is sad, that a man deserves a second chance, and maybe he deserves it, but not with the woman he hurt, not with the family he destroyed. Ethan lost Claire forever, and that was his biggest sentence. Bigger than jail, bigger than his father's rejection. He lost the love of a good woman, and he will never get that back. Robert recovered completely. Well, almost completely. His left arm never regained the same strength. He had to leave his job as a field officer, and they moved him to an administrative position. At first, he was frustrated. He said he missed the street, the action, feeling useful. But over time, he found another way to be useful. He started giving talks in schools to young people about domestic violence, about how to recognize signs of abuse, about how to protect the women in their family. And the young people listened to him. Because Robert did not talk like a cop. He spoke like a father, like a man who had seen pain up close, who had bled to protect his daughter. One day, after one of his talks, a boy of about 17 approached him. "Mr. Robert, my dad hits my mom, and I do not know what to do." Robert knelt in front of him. He looked him in the eyes. "You do know what to do. You have to protect her. You have to tell her she is not alone, and you have to look for help. But how? My dad is strong. I cannot. You do not have to fight him. You just have to break the silence. Talk about it with a teacher, with an uncle, with the police. Silence is what kills. The voice is what saves." The boy cried, and Robert hugged him. That night, Robert told me what had happened, and while he spoke, I saw tears in his eyes. "Amanda, if I had talked to Claire sooner, if I had asked more, if I had insisted." Do not blame yourself, Robert. You did everything you could, and when Claire needed you, you were there. That is what matters. He nodded. But there are so many Claires out there, so many women suffering, and nobody does anything. That is why you speak. That is why Claire speaks, so that those women know there is a way out. Robert smiled. You are right. As for me, my life changed too. After everything that happened, I could not continue with my routine as if nothing. I could not continue going to work, checking numbers, living as if I had not seen what I saw. I resigned from my job at the textile company. After 30 years, my colleagues did not understand. My boss neither. But I understood. I understood that life is short, that time is valuable, and that there are more important things than a salary. I used my savings to open something I had always dreamed of, a shelter for women victims of violence. It was not big, just a small house on the outskirts of the city, with 3 rooms, a kitchen, a living room. But it was a safe place, a place where women like Claire could arrive, without money, without papers, without questions, just with their pain and with their hope. Claire helped me, Robert too. We got donations, volunteers, lawyers who worked pro bono, psychologists who gave free therapy, and little by little that small place filled with life, with women who arrived broken and left whole, with children who arrived scared and left playing, with stories that arrived in silence and left out loud. One day, a woman of about 40 years old arrived at the shelter. She brought 2 small children. She had a black eye, a split lip. "Can I stay?" she asked with a trembling voice. "Of course." "This is your house now." She cried. She hugged her children. "Thank you. Thank you for not closing the door on me. Here we never close the door. Never." That night, while I was preparing dinner for all the women in the shelter, I thought about Richard, about Ethan, about all the men who use their strength to destroy. And I thought about justice, not the justice of the courts, not the justice of the laws, but the justice of karma, the justice of life. Richard ended up alone, Ethan ended up empty, and we ended up together, strong, rebuilt. That is the greatest justice, the one no one can take away from you. Today, as I write these words, 5 years have passed since that night. 5 years since the shot, since the screams, since the fear. 5 years in which I learned that pain can be transformed into wisdom, that wounds can become scars that tell stories, and that a mother's love is the most powerful force in the universe. Claire is now 31 years old. She opened her little school. It is called Seeds of Hope. It is small but beautiful. full of colors, of laughter, of children running and playing. She is happy, complete, free. She met someone, a good man, a teacher like her, someone who treats her with respect, with tenderness, with true love. The first time she introduced him to me, I was nervous. I was afraid of making a mistake again, of trusting someone who did not deserve it again. But when I saw him with Claire, when I saw how he looked at her, how he listened to her, how he made her laugh, I knew this time was different. "Mom, I want you to meet Andrew." Andrew shook my hand. He looked me in the eyes. "It is an honor to meet you, Mrs. Amanda. Claire has told me a lot about you, about everything you did for her. I only did what any mother would do. No, not any mother. You saved her. And for that, I am always going to respect you. And I am always going to take care of Claire like you took care of her." My eyes filled with tears. "Only one thing I ask of you, Andrew. Love her. Do not control her. Love her truly. I promise." And he has kept his promise. Last year, Claire and Andrew got married. It was a small, intimate wedding in a garden full of white flowers. Robert walked her down the aisle. I cried. I cried of happiness, of relief, of gratitude, because this time my daughter chose well. This time my daughter found the love she deserved. Robert continues giving talks. He continues saving lives with his words. He got remarried too, with a good, quiet woman who loves and cares for him. He and I are still friends. We are still a team. Because although our marriage did not work, our family did, and that is what matters. The shelter grew. It is no longer just a small house. Now we have 2 houses, 12 rooms capacity for 20 women and their children. Every month, new stories arrive, new tears, new hopes. And every month I see women who arrive broken and leave whole. Women who arrive with fear and leave with courage. A few days ago, a woman of about 60 arrived at the shelter. She carried an old suitcase, swollen eyes, trembling hands. "Can I stay?" she asked. "Of course. Come in." She entered. She sat in the living room and started talking. I was married for 40 years. 40 years enduring. 40 years silencing. I thought it was too late, that at my age there was no point leaving. But today my granddaughter told me something that changed my life. She told me, "Grandma, it is never too late to be happy." She cried, and I cried with her. "Your granddaughter is right," I told her. "It is never too late. As long as we have breath, we can start over." She smiled, a tired smile, but real. "Thank you. Thank you for opening this door for me. This door is always open. For you. For all." Sometimes when I am alone, I think about everything that happened. About Richard. About Ethan. About that night of blood and screams. And I ask myself if I did the right thing. If I could have done things differently. If I could have spared Claire so much pain. But then I see her. I see my daughter smiling. I see my daughter free. I see my daughter alive. And I understand that yes, I did the right thing. Because a mother cannot prevent her children from suffering. But she can be there when they suffer. She can hold them. She can fight for them. She can remind them they are not alone. And that is what I did. That is what I am always going to do. There is something I have learned in these years, something I want to share with all the women listening to this story. If you are in a relationship where they yell at you, where they control you, where they make you feel small, leave. Please leave. Do not wait until it is too late. Do not wait until the blows are stronger. Do not wait until your light goes out completely, because you are worth more, much more. It does not matter how old you are. It does not matter how long you have been there. It does not matter how many times they have told you you cannot. Yes, you can, and you are not alone. There are women like me, like Claire, like all those who have passed through the shelter. Women who are going to believe you, who are going to support you, who are going to accompany you. You just have to take the first step, the hardest, the most important, the step towards the door. A few months ago, I received a letter. It had no return address, just my name written by hand on the envelope. I opened it. It was from Ethan. It said, "Mrs. Amanda." I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know I do not deserve your forgiveness, nor Claire's nor anyone's. But I want you to know that every day I think about what I did. Every day I carry that weight, and every day I try to be better, not to get Claire back. I understand that. I lost her forever, and it is fair, but so that if one day I have children, I do not repeat my father's mistakes, so that the cycle ends with me. Thank you for saving Claire. Thank you for doing what I did not have the courage to do. With respect, Ethan. I read the letter several times. I did not feel rage. I did not feel forgiveness. I just felt nothing. Because Ethan is no longer part of our lives. It no longer matters what he feels, what he thinks, what he does. The only thing that matters is that Claire is fine, that she is alive, that she is happy. I put the letter in a drawer and never read it again. Today, as the sun sets behind the mountains, I sit on the patio of my house. I have a cup of cinnamon coffee in my hands, the same cup Claire used when she was a little girl. I think about all the road traveled, about everything we lost, about everything we gained, and I understand that life is not perfect, that it does not always have happy endings, that sometimes justice takes time, sometimes pain lasts for years, sometimes scars never fade. But I also understand that life goes on, that love goes on, that hope goes on, and that as long as there are women willing to fight to break the silence, to open doors, there will be a future, there will be freedom, there will be peace. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If my story helps a single mother act, it will have been worth it. If my story helps a single person understand that true love does not hurt, it will have been worth it. Because stories are not told only to remember the past. They are told to change the future. And this is my gift to you, to all of you, to all the women who need to hear that yes, it is possible, that yes, there is a way out, that yes, there is life after pain. Thank you for listening to me until the end. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing me. And if you are going through something similar, if you know someone who is suffering, please act. Do not wait. Do not doubt. Do not be afraid. Because silence kills, but the voice saves. And together we can save many more. May God bless you, and until next time. Thank you for listening to me until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and activate the bell to hear more stories of women who transform their pain into wisdom. Every day, a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change a whole day. May God bless you, and until next time,